The crystal wine glasses clinked as Vanessa raised hers in another insufferable toast. I counted the seconds until I could escape this suffocating dining room with its mahogany panels and judgmental stares. My mother-in-law's voice dripped honey-coated venom as she spoke. To family legacy, she proclaimed, her eyes fixed on me, and to knowing one's proper place in society. I'm Selena, and 6 months ago, I made the mistake of thinking love could conquer old money's disdain for new media. My lifestyle brand had just hit 1 million followers when I married Maggie Hughes. Now, I was watching it all unravel over foie gras and thinly veiled insults. Speaking of proper place, Vanessa continued, setting down her glass with practiced precision. I noticed you're still posting those little videos, Selena. What do you call them? Stories? Reels, mother, Maggie corrected, squeezing my hand under the table. Once, that gesture meant support. Tonight, it felt like a warning. Did you see her latest one? Kennedy, my sister-in-law, pulled out her phone. She's teaching people how to thrift shop. Thrift shop. She emphasized each word like she was describing something obscene. I help people find affordable fashion alternatives, I said, keeping my voice steady. Not everyone can afford. Darling, Vanessa interrupted. When you married my son, you joined one of Boston's most respected families. We have a certain standard to maintain. The butler appeared with dessert, but my appetite had long since vanished. Yahir, my father-in-law, hadn't spoken a word all evening, but his disapproving glances said enough. After dinner, Maggie led me to his study. The room smelled of leather and privilege, and I knew what was coming before he opened his mouth. We need to talk about your social media presence, he said, pouring himself another drink. Mother's right. It's becoming an embarrassment. An embarrassment? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. My content helps people, Maggie. Real people. Real people don't matter to our circle, he snapped, then softened his tone. Baby, you're not just Selena the influencer anymore. You're a Hughes. And that means I have to disappear? It means you need to grow up. He set down his glass hard enough to make me flinch. The charity gala is in 3 months. Mother's already worried you'll somehow mess it up. I've done nothing but try to fit in with your family, I said, feeling the familiar pressure behind my eyes. I've changed my wardrobe, my speech, even my friends. But not your career. Maggie walked to the window, his back to me. It's time to choose, Selena, your little clown show or this family. The words hit like a physical blow. Clown show? Is that what you really think of my work? He turned, his expression hard. Delete your accounts, all of them, tonight. And if I don't? Then perhaps we made a mistake, thinking you could be one of us. The silence stretched between us like a chasm. I pulled out my phone, my hands surprisingly steady. Opened Instagram. 1,200,000 followers watched my daily life, trusted my advice, formed a community I'd built from nothing. Fine, I said quietly. Watch. Click. Settings. Click. Delete account. Click. Confirm. Maggie's smile was triumphant. I knew you'd make the right choice. I stood up, smoothing my designer dress, a gift from Vanessa that never quite felt like me. I need some air. In the hallway, I pulled out my phone again and opened my messages. Found the conversation with Samuel, my best friend, and the only person who truly understood what I'd been through. I'm ready, I typed. His response came instantly. About damn time. Operation Phoenix? I glanced back at the study door, where my husband was probably already calling his mother with the good news. They thought they'd won. They thought they'd finally silenced me. Yes, I replied to Samuel, but bigger, much bigger. Another message popped up. You sure? Once we start? I thought about Vanessa's smug smile, Kennedy's mockery, Yahir's silent judgment, and Maggie's betrayal. My fingers flew across the screen. They wanted me to choose between my voice and their family. They never considered I might choose myself. Samuel's response made me smile for the first time that evening. Then let's give them a show they'll never forget. I walked to my car, the cool night air clearing my head. They thought they'd killed my brand tonight. Instead, they'd just helped birth something far more powerful. Something that would make them regret ever trying to dim my light. Let them celebrate their victory. They had no idea what was coming. "Perfect," Samuel said, adjusting the lighting in his downtown studio. "Now tilt your head slightly. We want mystery, not anonymity." 2 weeks after deleting my main account, I stood before the camera wearing a sleek black mask that covered the upper half of my face. The rest of my outfit was simple, a white button-down and black slacks. Professional, powerful, nothing like the colorful, approachable style I'd worn before. "You sure about the mask concept?" I asked, watching Samuel fiddle with camera settings. "Trust me, people are fascinated by the unknown. Plus, it'll drive your in-laws crazy trying to figure out who's behind Parallax when it blows up." We'd spent days crafting the perfect launch strategy. Parallax Initiative wouldn't be just another lifestyle brand. It would be a movement. Female entrepreneurship, mental health advocacy, and genuine philanthropy, not the performative kind I'd witnessed at Hughes' family events. "Ready?" Samuel asked. "Remember, keep your voice slightly lower than usual." I nodded, took a deep breath, and faced the camera. "Welcome to Parallax," I began, "where perspective changes everything. Today, we're talking about authentic success in a world obsessed with appearances." 3 hours later, we had enough content for our first week of posts. As Samuel edited, my phone buzzed with a text from Mekki. "Mother's hosting brunch tomorrow. Wear the Chanel suit she bought you." I texted back a simple, "Of course," while Samuel snorted. "How's life as the perfect Hughes wife?" he asked. "Exhausting." I showed him a photo from last week's charity committee meeting. "Look at this." Vanessa actually patted my head like a dog and said, "I'm finally learning." "Use it," Samuel said, not looking up from his computer. "Channel that rage into something productive." He was right. Every condescending comment, every forced smile, every memory of Mekki's betrayal, it all fueled Parallax's mission. The next morning, I sat through brunch in Vanessa's sun-drenched conservatory, playing my role perfectly while my phone silently exploded with notifications. Our first video had gone live. "Selena, darling," Vanessa cooed, "you seem so much more settled now that you've given up that internet nonsense." "Thank you," I replied, buttering a croissant. "I'm learning so much about real philanthropy from you." Kennedy nearly choked on her mimosa. "Please, like you could ever understand what we do. Our annual gala raises millions." "Speaking of millions," Royal, their event coordinator, burst into the room waving his tablet. "You won't believe who just committed to sponsoring this year's gala." Vanessa straightened, pearls gleaming. "The Andersons finally came through? Better? There's this new organization, Parallax Initiative. They're offering $500,000, plus they're bringing in some major tech investors." I sipped my tea to hide my smile while Vanessa frowned. "Parallax? Never heard of them. Who runs it?" Royal scrolled through his tablet. "It's anonymous, but they're making waves. Their mental health program just funded 3 new clinics in underserved areas." "Anonymous charity is so tacky," Kennedy scoffed. "Probably new money trying to buy their way in." Later that night, I sat in my home office, reading messages from followers. One caught my eye. "Dear Parallax, I was ready to give up on my small business. Your video about surviving toxic workplaces gave me courage. Today I quit my soul-crushing job to pursue my dreams full-time. Thank you for showing me my worth." Tears blurred my vision. Samuel was right. This was bigger than revenge. My office door opened and Mekki walked in. I quickly switched tabs to a cooking website. "Working late?" he asked, loosening his tie. "Just looking up recipes for your mother's dinner party." He came closer, peering at my screen. "You've changed so much lately. Mother's actually proud." The words hit like acid. I used to crave their approval. Now it felt like chains. I'm trying to be worthy of the Hughes name, I said softly. You are. He kissed my forehead. As long as you remember your place. After he left, I opened my private browser and logged into Parallax's account. Our follower count had hit 100,000 in just one day. Comments poured in, each one a testament to real impact, not social posturing. My phone buzzed with a text from Samuel. Phase 1 complete. Ready for Phase 2? I thought about Mekki's kiss, tainted with condescension, about Vanessa's proud smile, thinking she'd broken me, about Kennedy's constant reminders of my unworthiness. Phase 2, I typed back. Let's show them what real influence looks like. The mask I wore for Parallax might hide my face, but for the first time since my wedding, I felt truly seen. More caviar, darling. Vanessa held out the crystal serving dish, her smile as artificial as her highlights. 2 months had passed since I'd reformed, and she'd taken to parading me around like a prize poodle. Thank you, Mother, I replied, accepting a small portion. Across the table, Kennedy rolled her eyes. At least she's learned proper portions now, Kennedy stage whispered to her friend Sophie. Remember when she used to pile her plate like she was at a buffet? I focused on my caviar, remembering the latest Parallax video we'd filmed yesterday, a scathing commentary on food shaming in high society. It had already racked up 500,000 views. Ladies, Royal breezed into the dining room, his tablet perpetually in hand. We need to discuss the seating arrangements for the gala. The Parallax representatives are requesting a full table. Vanessa's fork clinked against her plate. A full table? Who do they think they are? They're our biggest donor this year, Royal reminded her. And their guest list is impressive. Tech CEOs, social impact investors, even that young YouTube sensation, Sarah something. Sarah Garrett? Kennedy perked up. She has 20 million subscribers. Mother, we should definitely give them the table. I hid my smile. Sarah was one of my first mentees under the Parallax brand. She had no idea who I really was, but she'd become the perfect voice for our community. Fine, Vanessa sighed, but keep them away from the main family table. We don't need new money mixing with old guard. Royal made a note, then hesitated. There's one more thing. They're requesting 5 minutes of speaking time during the program. Absolutely not, Vanessa's voice rose sharply. The gala program is a carefully curated tradition. We don't let sponsors give speeches. The donation is contingent on it, Royal said carefully, and it's not just the 500,000 anymore. They're offering to match all donations made that night. The room fell silent. Even Kennedy stopped texting. Well, Vanessa finally said, smoothing her napkin, I suppose we could make an exception. Just this once. Later that afternoon, Mekki found me in the garden, supposedly reading but actually approving final cuts for next week's content. You're different lately, he said, sitting beside me on the marble bench. I quickly closed my laptop. Different how? Calmer, more appropriate. He touched my cheek. I knew you'd adapt eventually. The Hughes way is always better. The Hughes way, I repeated, remembering how he used to defend my independence, my creativity, my voice. Before the marriage, before his mother's influence won. Mother wants us to host the pre-gala dinner, he continued. Think you can handle that without embarrassing us? Of course, darling. I gave him my best society smile. I've learned so much from your family. That evening I met Samuel at our secure studio space. He was editing footage of our latest philanthropy project, a women's shelter we'd funded in silence while the Hughes family plastered their name on hospital wings. Sarah's confirmed for the gala, he said as I walked in. She's bringing her whole team to document everything. Perfect. I sat down, pulling up our timeline. What about the other guests? All set. 3 tech billionaires who hate old money pretension, 5 social impact investors, and that fashion designer Vanessa's been trying to get into her circle for years. I nodded, then showed him my phone. Look what Kennedy posted today. It was a photo of me at brunch, caption reading, "So proud of my sister-in-law for finally growing up and leaving her internet addiction behind." Class over clicks. Samuel snorted. She's going to eat those words with a silver spoon. Speaking of eating, I pulled out an envelope. The menu for the pre-gala dinner. Meki's letting me host. They really think they've won, don't they? Completely. I started pacing. Today, Vanessa actually said she's considering letting me join the charity board next year if I keep proving myself. Samuel stopped editing and turned to face me. Having second thoughts? No, I said firmly. But sometimes I look at Meki and remember how he used to be, before they poisoned him with their prejudice. He made his choice, Samuel reminded me gently. He chose their world over your truth. My phone buzzed. Another text from Vanessa. Darling, don't forget to wear the blue Dior tomorrow. Kennedy says you tried on something contemporary at lunch. We must maintain standards. I showed Samuel the message. 3 more weeks until the gala. Think we can maintain this charade? He pulled up our latest analytics. Parallax had just crossed 2 million followers. Our philanthropic impact had reached 8 figures. Sarah's documentary about our movement was trending worldwide. Trust me, he said, the charade is almost over. And their standards? He gestured to our impact numbers. We've already shattered them. I touched the mask hanging on our studio wall, my symbol of rebellion and redemption. 3 weeks, I whispered. Then they'll learn what real influence looks like. And with this donation, we've completed funding for 3 new schools in Ghana, I said into the camera, my mask catching the studio lights. Remember, true impact isn't about... The studio door clicked. I froze. Selena? Meki's voice echoed through the space. Samuel lunged for the power switch while I yanked off my mask. The screens went dark just as Meki rounded the corner. What are you doing here? He looked around the small editing suite I'd told him was a documentary rental space. Just watching some charity documentaries, I gestured to the blank screens. Research for the gala. Meki picked up a nearby tablet, but Samuel had already locked it. Since when are you so interested in charity work? Your mother's influence, I smiled sweetly. She's taught me so much about proper philanthropy. He seemed satisfied with that answer, but his eyes lingered on the equipment. Who's your friend? Samuel. My friend stepped forward, extending his hand. I rent the space to Selena. She's very interested in traditional documentary styles. After Meki left, promising to pick me up in an hour for dinner, Samuel collapsed into his chair. That was too close, he muttered, pulling up our security protocols. We need to be more careful. My phone buzzed with a notification. Parallax's latest post about wealth inequality had gone viral. 3 million views in 2 hours. Maybe we should slow down, Samuel suggested. The gala's in 2 weeks. We can't risk exposure now. No, I said, reading the comments flooding in. Look at this impact. We can't stop. Later that evening, during another suffocating family dinner, Kennedy couldn't stop talking about Parallax. Their latest video about performative charity was brilliant, she gushed, not realizing she was describing herself. Mother, we should reach out to them about a collaboration. Vanessa sipped her wine. They're still too mysterious for my taste. Royal, have you managed to identify any of their key people? Not yet, Royal admitted, but their influence is undeniable. The gala's waiting list has tripled since they announced their involvement. Speaking of influence, Meki turned to me. I saw some interesting equipment in that studio today. My fork paused halfway to my mouth. Oh? Looked more like a content creation setup than documentary viewing. Really? I kept my voice light. I wouldn't know the difference. Wouldn't you? His tone was casual, but his eyes were sharp. You used to make content after all. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a message from Samuel. Emergency. Call now. Excuse me, I stood, grateful for the interruption. Work call. In the hallway, Samuel's voice was tense. "We have a problem. Someone's trying to hack our server." "What? Who?" "Can't tell yet, but they're good. They're targeting the files with your unmasked footage." My hands started shaking. "Move everything to the secure server, now." "Already done, but Selena..." He hesitated. "I think we're being watched. That studio visit wasn't accidental." I peered back into the dining room, where Mackie was in deep conversation with his father. "You think? Check your desk when you get home. And Selena, be careful." That night, after Mackie fell asleep, I crept to my office. The lock on my desk drawer was intact, but something felt off. I pulled it open slowly. My heart stopped. The Parallax Gala invitation, the one marked reserved honoree seating that I'd hidden under old papers, was now sitting on top, slightly askew. My phone lit up with a text from Mackie. "Still awake?" I looked toward our bedroom, where I'd left him sleeping. Another text came through. "We need to talk about your documentary project." Hands trembling, I called Samuel. "They know," I whispered when he answered. "How much?" "Not everything, but enough to be dangerous." I started pacing. "What do we do?" "Stick to the plan," Samuel said firmly. "We're too close to back down now. The gala's in 2 weeks. They can't prove anything before then." "And after?" "After won't matter. That's the point of all this, remember?" I touched the invitation, thinking of Vanessa's smug smile, Kennedy's condescension, and Mackie's slow transformation from the man I loved to someone I barely recognized. "Samuel," I said quietly, "move up the timeline. We need to finish the Ghana school footage tomorrow." "Why?" "Because I don't think we have 2 weeks anymore." I heard footsteps in the hallway. "And Samuel, get Sarah ready. If this falls apart, she needs to be prepared to tell our story." I hung up, just as my office door opened. Mackie stood there, his face unreadable in the darkness. "Working late again, darling?" he asked. "Just finalizing details for your mother's gala," I replied, sliding the drawer shut. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Of course you are." The door closed, and I let out a shaky breath. The game was shifting, pieces moving faster than planned. But then again, the best revenge doesn't follow a schedule. "Turn," the seamstress instructed, pinning the hem of my gown. 1 week until the gala, and Vanessa had insisted on a final fitting at her preferred atelier. "Perfect," Vanessa purred, circling me like a shark. "Navy blue, dignified, traditional. Much better than those garish outfits you used to wear in your videos." The seamstress's pin pricked my ankle. I didn't flinch. "Speaking of videos," Kennedy walked in, waving her phone. "Have you seen Parallax's latest post? They're announcing their full team at the gala." Vanessa's head snapped up. "What?" I watched Kennedy play the video. My video, filmed yesterday in the mask that now felt like a second skin. My disguised voice promised revelations that would transform Boston's philanthropic landscape forever. "About time," Vanessa sniffed. "Anonymous charity is so tasteless." My phone buzzed, a text from Mackie. "We need to discuss your gala speech. Dinner tonight. No excuses." The seamstress finished her work, and I changed back into my acceptable designer outfit. As I left the atelier, another message came through, this time from Samuel. "Sarah's documentary crew just arrived in Boston. Everything's ready." I was halfway to my car when Kennedy caught up with me. "Selena, wait." She grabbed my arm, her manicured nails digging in slightly. "Mother wanted me to remind you about your place at the gala." "My place?" "You'll be seated at table 12, she smiled sweetly. "Away from the main family table. Can't have you accidentally speaking to the wrong people." "Of course," I matched her smile. "I know my place." That evening, Mackie was waiting in his study, a familiar folder on his desk. "Interesting reading material," he said as I entered, tapping the folder. "Want to know what I found?" My heart raced, but my voice remained steady. What are you talking about? He opened the folder, pulling out papers. Financial records, your old content creation equipment, all sold 6 months ago. But here's the curious part. He held up a document. Similar equipment purchased through a shell company 2 weeks later. You're investigating me? Protecting our family interests. He stood up, moving closer. You've been different lately. Too perfect. Too compliant. Isn't that what you wanted? What I want, he leaned in, is the truth. Are you parallax? I forced a laugh. Me? The woman you called a social media clown? That's ridiculous. Is it? He pulled out his phone, playing a parallax video. The hand gestures, the speech patterns. Now you're analyzing body language. What happened to you, Mekhi? You used to defend me against your family's paranoia. Something flickered in his eyes. Doubt, maybe regret. I pressed on. You wanted me to change, to fit your family's mold. I did. And now you're suspicious because I succeeded? He sat back down, running a hand through his hair. Maybe I'm wrong. You are? I moved toward the door. And if you'll excuse me, I need to prepare for the gala. Wouldn't want to embarrass the family name. The moment I left, I called Samuel. They're getting closer, I said, rushing to my car. Mekhi's connecting the dots. We expected this, Samuel replied calmly. Sarah's team is already setting up the live stream for the gala. Once it starts? No, I cut him off. We need to change tactics. They're watching me too closely. What are you thinking? I started my car, heading toward our studio. Remember how Vanessa always says image is everything? Let's give her an image she'll never forget. The next morning, I attended the final gala planning meeting. Royal was reviewing the schedule when I raised my hand. Yes, Selena? Vanessa's tone was indulgent. I'd like to volunteer to be the family speaker this year. The room went silent. Kennedy choked on her sparkling water. You? Vanessa's smile tightened. Darling, the family speech is a crucial moment. We need someone who truly understands our legacy. Exactly, I smiled back. After all your guidance, who better to speak about the Hughes family's impact than the woman you've molded into the perfect society wife? I could see her calculating. The optics of refusing, the risk of letting me speak, the potential for embarrassment. Perhaps, she finally said, a short introduction would be appropriate. Perfect. I gathered my things, standing to leave. I promise, Mother, everyone will remember this speech. As I walked out, I heard Kennedy whisper, Mother, are you sure about this? Vanessa's response floated after me. Don't worry, dear. What's the worst she could do? We've tamed her completely. In my car, I pulled out my phone and typed a message to Samuel. Speech approved. Start the countdown. His response was immediate. Ready when you are, boss. Time to show them what Untamed really looks like. I smiled, touching the gala invitation in my purse. 1 week until everything changed. 1 week until they learned that some voices can't be silenced. They just learn to speak in different ways. The ballroom sparkled with old money and new tension. I adjusted my navy blue gown, Vanessa's choice, of course, and watched Sarah's documentary crew set up near the stage. They were posing as regular event photographers, but their cameras would capture every moment of what was about to unfold. There you are, Mekhi appeared beside me, straightening his bow tie. Mother's looking for you. Something about reviewing your speech one last time. Of course she is, I smiled, squeezing his arm. How do I look? Appropriate enough? His eyes searched my face. Almost too appropriate. Before he could say more, Royal rushed over. The Parallax representatives are here. Finally, Vanessa materialized, pearls gleaming. Let's see who's behind all this mystery. We watched as a group entered the ballroom. Samuel led them, looking sharp in his tuxedo, followed by tech CEOs and social impact investors I'd spent months cultivating relationships with. None of them knew my true identity. They'd only dealt with Parallax's masked founder via video calls. "Where's their leader?" Kennedy demanded, scanning the crowd. "Running late, apparently." Samuel approached us, playing his role perfectly. "But they asked me to deliver this." He handed Vanessa an envelope. Inside was a note. "The truth reveals itself in due time." "How dramatic," Vanessa scoffed, but I caught the uncertainty in her voice. The evening progressed according to plan. Dinner was served, checks were written, and social hierarchies were carefully maintained. I sat at table 12, watching Vanessa hold court at the main table. "Time for the speeches," Royal announced over the microphone, starting with a special introduction from Mrs. Selena Hughes. I stood, feeling hundreds of eyes follow me to the stage. Sarah's cameras tracked my every move. "Good evening," I began, my voice clear and controlled. "The Hughes family has taught me so much about legacy, about proper behavior, about knowing one's place." Vanessa beamed from her seat. "They showed me that image is everything," I continued. "That silence is golden, that some voices matter more than others." The smile on Vanessa's face wavered slightly. "But tonight isn't about silence, it's about truth. And the truth is—" "Ladies and gentlemen," Royal suddenly interrupted, rushing to the stage, "we have a special announcement. The founder of Parallax Initiative has arrived." The ballroom doors opened. Every head turned. A figure in a sleek black suit and the now famous mask walked in. Samuel had outdone himself finding my body double. Same height, same walk, same presence. "What perfect timing," I said into the microphone, watching Vanessa's face. Because I was just about to discuss true philanthropy versus performative charity. Kennedy stood up. "Mother, something's wrong." "You see," I continued, "real impact doesn't need family names on buildings. It doesn't require social media bans or forced silence." The masked figure reached the stage. Vanessa was half rising from her seat, realization dawning in her eyes. "No," she whispered. I turned to the masked figure. "Would you like to show everyone who's really behind Parallax Initiative?" The figure reached up, removing the mask to reveal Sarah, the YouTube star I'd mentored, who'd agreed to play this final role. "But if she's not—" Kennedy's voice trailed off. I smiled directly into Sarah's camera. "I am." The ballroom erupted in whispers. Meggie's wineglass slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. "Over the past 6 months," I continued, my voice carrying over the chaos, "Parallax Initiative has built schools in Ghana, funded women's shelters across America, and created opportunities for thousands of creators who were told their voices didn't matter." "Security!" Vanessa called out, but the cameras were rolling. Sarah's live stream was already trending. "We've generated more real impact in half a year than the Hughes family's performative charity has in a decade," I said, "and we did it without silencing anyone, without shame, without pretense." "You manipulative little—" Kennedy started toward the stage, but Samuel stepped in her way. "The numbers don't lie." I pressed a button, and the screens around the ballroom lit up with our impact statistics. 8 million followers, $12 million in direct aid, real change, not just social climbing. Mekki finally found his voice. "Selena, stop this now." "Why?" I turned to him. "Because it's embarrassing? Because it doesn't fit your family's image? You wanted me to find my place, remember?" I gestured to the ballroom, where half the guests were already sharing the live stream. "This is my place, not behind you, not beneath your family, but standing in my own truth." Vanessa reached the stage, face contorted with rage. "You'll regret this. You're finished in this town." I laughed, and the sound echoed through the speakers. "No, Mother, I'm just getting started." The cameras flashed, capturing the moment perfectly. Vanessa's fury, Mekki's shock, and me, finally standing tall in my own power. "Thank you for teaching me about legacy," I said, addressing the entire Hughes family. "I've built one of my own." The backstage area of the ballroom buzzed with controlled chaos. Sarah's crew was still live streaming, capturing every reaction as the Hughes family empire crumbled in real time. Trending #1 worldwide, Samuel announced, showing me his phone. Parallax Reveal and Selena Unmasked are dominating every platform. Royal burst through the door, tablet clutched to his chest. The donors, they're all redirecting their pledges to Parallax, even the Andersons. Of course they are. Vanessa's voice cut through the room like ice. She stood in the doorway, Kennedy and Yahir flanking her. They're all obsessed with viral moments and social media circus acts. No, Mother, Kennedy said quietly, staring at her phone. They're choosing authenticity over artifice. Look at these comments. I stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. Would you like to read them aloud, Kennedy, or should I? You ungrateful little witch, Vanessa spat. We gave you everything. You gave me conditions, I corrected. Ultimatums. Shame. We gave you class, she shouted, losing her carefully maintained composure. We lifted you from your common little internet world and made you somebody. Samuel started recording on his phone. I was already somebody, I said calmly. Millions of people trusted my voice, my authenticity. You didn't lift me up, you tried to bury me. And now you think you've won? Yahir finally spoke, his voice cold. You've destroyed decades of social capital. No, I gestured to the live stream numbers still climbing. I've shown what real capital looks like. Impact, change, truth. The door opened again. Meki walked in, his face unreadable. The press is outside, he said to no one in particular. Every major network. Perfect. Vanessa straightened her spine. We'll tell them how you deceived us, played the victim. Actually, Sarah stepped forward, camera rolling. We have 6 months of documented evidence showing exactly who played what role. Would you like to see the footage? Kennedy grabbed her mother's arm. Stop talking, Mother. You're making it worse. Making it worse? Vanessa laughed hysterically. Your father's board members are calling. Our foundation partners are distancing themselves. She's destroyed everything. You destroyed it, I said softly. The moment you decided image mattered more than impact. The second you chose cruelty over kindness. Meki moved closer, his eyes meeting mine. Was any of it real? Us? All of it, I whispered. Until you stopped defending me and started changing me. A commotion outside drew everyone's attention. Through the door, we could see donors crowding around Sarah's team, pledging support to Parallax's initiatives. Mrs. Hughes, Royal interrupted, still clutching his tablet. The Parallax Education Grant. It's been approved. 8 figures. They want to announce it now. Vanessa stepped forward. Don't you dare. He means me, I cut her off. I'm Mrs. Hughes, for now anyway. The implication hung in the air. Meki flinched. You're choosing this over family? Kennedy asked, but her tone had lost its edge. No, I walked toward the door. I'm choosing truth over pretense, impact over image, self-worth over social acceptance. Samuel touched my arm. They're ready for you. I turned back one last time. You know what the saddest part is? If you'd accepted me, my career, my voice, my passion for helping others, you could have been part of something revolutionary. Instead, you'll be remembered as the cautionary tale in my success story. You think you can walk away from us? Vanessa's voice shook. This family is still your name. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. No, Parallax is my name. Truth is my legacy. And unlike the Hughes reputation, those can't be bought or controlled. As I walked out to face the press, I heard Kennedy say, Mother, stop. Look at the donation numbers. She's already won. The ballroom had transformed. Donors who'd once kissed Vanessa's ring now crowded around Sarah, asking about Parallax partnership opportunities. Society photographers who'd documented Hughes events for decades trained their lenses on me. Mrs. Hughes, a reporter called out. What made you create Parallax? I took the microphone, aware of the Hughes family watching from the shadows. Sometimes, I said, The only way to fight silence is to create a louder truth. The cameras flashed. Behind me, I heard Mickey call my name, but his voice was drowned out by the sound of applause. Real applause, not the polite society kind. Samuel appeared at my side. Ready for phase 2? I thought about the schools we'd built, the lives we'd changed, the truth we'd uncovered. Actually, I smiled into the cameras, I think we're just getting started, because the best revenge isn't just proving them wrong. It's proving yourself right, over and over again, until your truth becomes undeniable. The morning sun streamed through my office windows as I stared at the email from Mickey's lawyer. 3 words stood out: dissolution of marriage. My phone buzzed with a text from Samuel. Ready to film when you are. I grabbed my coat and headed to the studio, passing walls lined with photos of Parallax's impact. Smiling students in Ghana, women entrepreneurs receiving grants, digital creators breaking free from corporate chains. The trending numbers from last night's gala reveal are still insane, Samuel said as I walked in. You're the main character of the internet right now. Any word from the Hughes family? He checked his phone. Kennedy's gone silent. Yahir's foundation is hemorrhaging partners, and Vanessa, well, she's trying to spin it, but no one's buying her version anymore. I sat down in front of the camera. Let's do this. You sure about going unmasked? The time for masks is over. Samuel adjusted the lighting and pressed record. I looked directly into the lens, channeling every emotion from the past 6 months. Hi, I'm Selena. You might know me as the founder of Parallax Initiative, or maybe as the woman who exposed performative philanthropy at Boston's biggest charity gala. But today, I want to tell you my real story. The words flowed naturally now, unfiltered by fear or pretense. I fell in love with a man who promised to love all of me, my creativity, my passion for digital connection, my desire to make real change. But his family saw my work as beneath them. They demanded silence in exchange for acceptance. My phone buzzed again. Kennedy calling. I declined it. They thought they were teaching me about legacy. Instead, they taught me that true impact doesn't need designer dresses or society pages. It needs courage, authenticity, and the willingness to stand alone. Samuel gave me a thumbs up as I continued. To every creator who's been told their voice doesn't matter, to every dreamer who's been asked to shrink themselves for acceptance, this is for you. Your truth is your power. After filming, I found Sarah waiting outside. The documentary rough cut is ready, she said, pulling up footage on her laptop. We're calling it Parallax, Shifting Perspectives. The opening sequence showed my wedding day, then cut to clips of subtle emotional manipulation at Hughes family events. It ended with last night's revelation and its aftermath. Perfect, I said. Release it tomorrow. My phone buzzed again. Mickey this time. Against my better judgment, I answered. The divorce papers, he said without preamble. Mother's lawyers want to add a non-disclosure agreement. I laughed. A bit late for that, don't you think? Selena, please. Our family name. Stop, I cut him off. Your family name is exactly what I'm breaking free from. No NDAs, no silence, not anymore. I hung up and turned to Samuel. Send out the press release about the Global Education Initiative and call that women's shelter we funded. I want to visit today. Already done. Oh, and this came for you. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a handwritten note from Kennedy. You showed me what real influence looks like, what real impact feels like. I'm sorry we tried to dim your light. K.E. My phone lit up with a notification. Vanessa had just posted a public statement attempting to discredit me. The comments section was flooded with Parallax supporters sharing stories of how our work had changed their lives. Should we respond? Samuel asked. No need, I smiled. The truth responds for itself. I walked to the window, watching the city wake up. Somewhere out there, the Hughes family was trying to salvage their reputation, but their world of performative charity and social constraints felt small now compared to the real impact we were making. Samuel, I called out, Remember what you said when we started this, about how revenge wouldn't bring peace? Yeah, you were right. This stopped being about revenge the moment I realized my voice was bigger than their silence. He nodded toward my phone, still buzzing with notifications. So what now? I picked up my mask, the one I'd worn as parallax, and placed it in a display case alongside photos of the schools we'd built and lives we'd changed. Now we build something bigger than revenge, I said. We build truth. My laptop chimed with an email from Royal. The foundation board wants to meet. They're considering removing the Hughes family from leadership. I closed the laptop without responding. Their world of social politics and performative philanthropy didn't matter anymore. I had real work to do. Ready for today's meetings? Samuel asked. I looked at my reflection in the window. No designer dress, no society smile, just me and my truth. Ready, I said. Let's show them what real legacy looks like. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone else's world. It's building your own, brick by brick, truth by truth, until it towers over the shadows they tried to keep you in.